He thought about it again and still restrained the impulse to refine the flying dagger. If this flying dagger was really not ordinary, it would not be worth it to casually refine it. Everything was better to wait and see. Right now, his first consideration was to enter the Blue Cloud sect. After tidying up his mood, Luo Zheng closed his eyes and began to rest. Tomorrow was the sea test. Although the sea test's content was just running, from what Mo can said, it shouldn't be that simple. Early the next morning, Luo Zheng washed up and set off for the Blue Cloud sect. Yesterday, when he registered, he didn't see many people. Today, he saw that the Blue Cloud sect's not spacious entrance was already crowded with people. Some were riding horses, some were walking, and some were sitting on flying chariots. With so many people, the Blue Cloud sect's not spacious entrance was so crowded that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Luo Zheng casually estimated that there were actually no less than 10,000 people. It was no wonder that the Blue Cloud sect held a sea test every month. Unexpectedly, there were over 10,000 people participating in the monthly sea test. If the number of people who registered for an entire year was counted, then there would be over 100,000 people. Even if the Blue Cloud sect had a deep foundation, it would still be very troublesome to deal with. No matter where it was, when there were so many people, it would become extremely noisy. Luo Zheng stood at the back of the crowd. His face was expressionless as he quietly waited. After a while, a flying chariot sped through the Blue Cloud sect's entrance. A white-bearded old man stood on the flying chariot. After the white-bearded old man appeared, he took a deep breath and then said in a steady voice, "All applicants, please enter the sect in an orderly manner to participate in the sea test of the sect. Please do not make a ruckus. If there are any violators, their qualifications will be revoked and they will be expelled. They will never be able to register for the Blue Cloud sect for the rest of their lives." The white-bearded old man's voice wasn't loud, but it was very strange. It was as if it was ringing in everyone's ears. Over 10,000 people present heard it clearly. After the white-bearded old man finished speaking, the scene immediately became quiet. No one dared to make a sound. Over 10,000 people were as silent as gold. Even a pin drop could be heard clearly. Revocation of qualifications and expulsion were small matters. At worst, they could come back next month. However, if they couldn't register for the Blue Cloud sect in the future, it would be a big problem. The Blue Cloud sect was the largest sect in the empire. It was also a holy land for cultivation. Although there were a few small sects in the Burning Heaven Empire, they couldn't be compared to the Blue Cloud sect in terms of scale and talent. If they were banned by the Blue Cloud sect, it would be the end of their future. All the candidates participating in the sea test understood the weight of this sentence. No one dared to say anything else. Over 10,000 people entered the Blue Cloud sect in a single file. They walked along the path of the sect. After everyone had walked for a while, they turned a corner and arrived at a huge plaza. Around the plaza, there were a few flying chariots floating. Those were the people who maintained the order of the sea test. After the sea test candidates stood in the plaza, the white-bearded old man appeared in front of the plaza again. He said, "I believe that many of the people who registered for the sea test this month already know the rules of the sea test. However, this old man still needs to be long-winded. Run from this plaza to the front. No matter if you are in the bone refining stage, organ refining stage, or marrow refining stage, run until the jade pendant on your chest changes color. Only then will you have the qualifications to participate in the Blue Cloud sect's entrance examination." The rules were really simple. There was no rule on the running speed, nor was there any rule on the ranking. As long as he ran a certain distance and changed the color of the jade pendant, it would be enough. After memorizing the rules, Luo Zheng looked toward the path at the front. Apotheosis Chapter 16. At first, Luo Zheng only had some mysterious words about the refining method. He didn't have any memories about it, so he could only rely on himself to figure it out. In the end, Luo Zheng's consciousness stopped in front of the huge furnace. Of the 9 dragon sculptures, only Qinglong was awake. Qinglong's indifferent eyes were looking down at him, revealing the supreme majesty of the dragon clan. Thinking of how his soul had almost collapsed under Qinglong's gaze, Luo Zheng still had a lingering fear. Since his soul had been tempered in the huge furnace, the strength of his soul had been greatly improved. Now, under Qinglong's gaze, he could still feel great pressure. His soul consciousness was suppressed by a huge pressure. This feeling was like his body being pressed down by a huge mountain. It was so heavy that he couldn't breathe. His soul was strong enough to resist Qinglong's gaze, but how could he communicate with it? Facing this terrifying Qinglong, Luo Zheng felt as small as a speck of dust. He tried to get closer to Qinglong's sculpture, but he found that the closer he got, the heavier his soul felt. It was as if there were 10,000 thoughts in his mind telling him, "Run. Fight." Luo Zheng gathered his courage and controlled his soul to rush forward. The closer he got to Qinglong's sculpture, the greater the spatial pressure in front of him. His speed became slower and slower, as if he was walking in sticky mud. The strong pressure emitted by Qinglong made Luo Zheng's teeth chatter uncontrollably. Even if he clenched his teeth hard, he couldn't resist the urge to retreat. However, Luo Zheng's eyes flashed with determination. It was this courage that made him press forward. In the end, he blocked the pressure of Qinglong's gaze and successfully got closer. He reached out his hand and touched one of Qinglong's tentacles. After a while, Qinglong let out a soft dragon roar. The huge furnace started to rotate slowly. A wisp of black fire separated from the calm black flames in the furnace and floated outside. Success! Sure enough, this giant furnace had its own consciousness and could communicate with Luo Zheng. Although Luo Zheng wasn't sure if this consciousness belonged to the furnace itself or Qinglong's consciousness, he did manage to communicate with it and summoned a wisp of black fire. In the room of the inn, Luo Zheng suddenly opened his eyes. Almost at the same time, a small wisp of black fire came out of his glabella and circled around in the air. This wisp of black fire didn't seem to be very powerful. Luo Zheng couldn't even feel the heat it was emitting. However, he did not dare to underestimate this wisp of black flame. The karmic fire sword was a high-grade profound artifact. After being burned by Xie Lang's second-grade true fire for so long, it was only burned red and not burned. And this wisp of black fire actually melted the karmic fire sword into molten iron essence in the blink of an eye. Such power was completely beyond the scope of Luo Zheng's knowledge. He simply couldn't evaluate the power of the black fire. It was a pity that he couldn't control the black fire. If he could use the black fire against his enemies, he would be invincible. The black fire quickly found the blood-red sledgehammer in front of Luo Zheng. After locking onto its direction, it rolled towards the blood-red sledgehammer. This blood-red sledgehammer was a mid-grade profound artifact. Compared to the karmic fire sword, this blood-red sledgehammer was 1 grade lower. However, this sledgehammer was much larger than the sword. It was unknown how much molten iron essence it could refine. Would it be able to light up a single dragon scale? Under the smelting of the black fire, the blood-red sledgehammer was like a candle that met an open flame. Almost instantly, it was melted by the black fire and turned into a drop of molten iron essence. One drop. Only 1 drop. Such a large mid-grade profound artifact was actually refined into a drop of molten iron essence? Luo Zheng's mouth was wide open. He even stuttered when he spoke. Although the grade of this blood-red sledgehammer was inferior to the karmic fire sword, its size was much larger than the karmic fire sword. It was impossible to only refine a drop of molten iron essence. Thinking of this, Luo Zheng made up his mind. He took out several other profound artifacts from the Sumera ring. These profound artifacts were either mid-grade or low-grade. He might as well smelt them all together. That wisp of black fire was not careless. It swept away those profound artifacts quickly and cleanly. The result was also not optimistic. The mid-grade profound artifacts could still refine a drop of molten iron essence, but the low-grade profound artifacts could only refine a drop of molten iron essence. It was not much bigger than a speck of dust. Luo Zheng could only see it when he opened his eyes wide. After smelting the profound artifacts in the Sumera ring, he gathered all the molten iron essence together. It was not easy to gather 5 drops of molten iron essence. Finally, the black fire rolled up the 5 drops of molten iron essence and escaped into his mind. Luo Zheng closely watched every movement in his mind. When the black fire sent the 5 drops of molten iron essence into Qinglong's mouth, the sculpture of Qinglong trembled for a while. The second dragon scale began to flicker with a blue light, as if it was about to be lit up. It's done. Luo Zheng's heart was filled with excitement. The power of the dragon scales could increase his strength by leaps and bounds. However, the blue light on the dragon scale flickered twice, and then the light slowly dimmed. Seeing this, Luo Zheng's face changed. Could it be that 6 drops of molten iron essence were needed to activate the dragon scale? But the moment the blue light on the dragon scale dimmed, there was a sudden twist. The whole dragon scale suddenly lit up, emitting a green luster. It was very beautiful. Luo Zheng's heart finally relaxed. It seemed that only 5 drops of molten iron essence were needed to activate a dragon scale. At the same time, he suddenly felt a surge of power surging into every part of his body. He subconsciously clenched his fists and felt that his entire body was filled with strength. The feeling of being filled with power almost made him want to scream. After a while, Luo Zheng's surging heart calmed down. Lighting up 2 dragon scales was not bad, but at this stage, Luo Zheng's strength increased as fast as possible. If he continued to light up a few more dragon scales, he was afraid that he would be able to send a guy like Luo Peiran flying with just 1 punch. But the profound artifacts in his hands had all been refined. Where could he find more? Although he had hundreds of square crystals in his hands, the price of a profound artifact was definitely not cheap. At best, he could buy 1 or 2 low-grade profound artifacts. What was the use? At this time, he set his mind on the broken flying dagger. Even though the flying dagger was so broken, the aura it emitted was still so astonishing. Its grade